Alligator in alignment here. I just stopped by for a bit. I've been absent, but just stopped by for a bit to remind everyone about the No Kings protest coming up, I think this Saturday. I don't know if they're going to be nationwide or worldwide like they were last time. But I'm going to be there. And I ask everybody who really believes in democracy and wants to keep our democracy to attend. Now, here's a song from out of the 60s that always comes to mind when I see the way things are going today. If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning, hammer in the evening, y'all, all over this land. I'd hammer out warnings, hammer out danger. There's danger. The love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. Yeah, yeah, all over this land. Yeah, yeah. I've got a hammer and I've got a bell and I've got a song to sing all over this land. A hammer of justice, it's the bell of freedom. A song about the love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. Yeah, yeah, all over this land. Well, here we are once again. I'm asking you to do me a favor. Like I keep saying, it doesn't cost you anything. It only takes a moment, but it means the world to me. So if you could just take a moment to do this for me, I would really appreciate it. Hit the subscription button and the like button and help me to keep things rolling here. Okay? I will see you soon. Very appropriate song. I always liked it. I think Peter, Paul, and Mary, or maybe Pete Seeger was the originator of that. But anyway, the No Kings protest is coming back up, and I think it's a wonderful thing to participate in. And I often laugh at the excuses that people make for hating it. How can you hate a No Kings protest? Now, I've talked to people on the street, okay, and some of the answers that they give me, I hear them on the YouTube, the same answer. Somebody told me, they go, well, it's a protest against Trump. And I said, what about the protest says that it's against Trump? He said, well, they're saying he wants to be a king. I said, well, maybe that's true, but I don't think anything about the protest is saying that. It's just saying no kings. We don't want a king. And another one that I heard a lot was, well, if Donald Trump was a king, he wouldn't even allow you to have the protest. So what are you talking about? If he was a king, you wouldn't be allowed to have the protest. I said, nobody is saying he's a king. Nobody's saying that. He says it. You know, he says, yeah, I think people want a king, and I think people want a dictator, and blah, blah, blah. You know, he says it. But the No Kings protest, nobody is saying Donald Trump's a king. That would be stupid. He's not a king. You know? It's simply saying, we don't want a king. That's all. And a few times I think it was, these were protests all over the world, all over Europe, Australia, Asia, in support of that same idea. Although, you know, they use slightly different wordings. So all of the hullabaloo about you know, the No Kings protest is, what's so bad about it? Unless you want a king, why are you against it? And don't have me the excuse about Donald Trump's not a king. Nobody says he's a king. He says it. He says he wants to be. He says he thinks people need it. Remember when years ago, during his first administration, when Xi, the president of China, decided that he was going to have no more elections, he was going to be president for life. Donald Trump went on the podium of the presidency of the United States, stood behind it, looked at the American people and said, well, Mr. Xi said he's going to be president for life, and he's a smart man and he's a strong man, like he praises all of our, demonizes all of our allies and praises all of the dictators. He's a smart man, and if he wants to be president for life, I think that's a good thing. And maybe and then he looks in the camera and says this, I think that's what we need here in America. Okay, so don't blame the No Kings protest. Nobody is saying Donald Trump's a king. He's not a king. That would be stupid to say. We're simply saying we don't want a king. And if you're against it, then you must want a king. And if you want a king, that's your prerogative. But the Constitution says that we have a right to march and follow our own beliefs, and there's nothing wrong with it. Nobody's asking you to come if you want a king. You can have your king. Nobody's asking you to come. But we all need to participate because we need to keep the awareness up of what's really happening to our country. And I'm not going to get into all of this stuff about the war and stuff like that. Those of us who have been following this guy, what did you expect? The guy lies all the time, and even his followers can't sit with me and say he doesn't lie all of the time. They couldn't, because they know he does. So if he says campaigns on we're going to have no more foreign wars, no more wars, or no more this and no more that, and gas is going down and this is going down, all of these things, why would anyone believe anything that comes out of the man's mouth? I even said on my podcast before, when he was first campaigning, I was saying, okay, he's saying no more wars. You know what that means? Woohoo, we're going to war. I said, because everything he says, he does exactly the opposite. I'm gonna build a wall in Mexico. I'm gonna pay for it. Woo-hoo! Just junk. So anyway, the No Kings protest is simply seeing the way things are going in America. We're expressing our opinion that we don't want a dictator and we don't want a king. And what is wrong with that? I mean, this is America, a democracy. What is wrong with people marching in the streets stating that they don't want a king, they don't want a dictator, they want democracy? And if you are so against it, if it frightens you so much, then it's obvious that you want a king. And if it's not, then it certainly seems like that's what you're saying. So anyway, I'm not going to hang out here too long with this. I consider it a really silly subject, but I did want to touch on the fact that the No Kings protests are probably going to be all over the country, if not all over the world again, Saturday. And I'm going to be at the one near me. And I would advise all of you to just go out and show your support for democracy. Okay? Show your support for democracy. That's all it's about. If you don't want the Xi of China, if you don't want Putin's government, if you don't want North Korea's government, then show your support. It's really, really important. I voted for Donald Trump the first time, and my voting for him lasted a very short time, because as soon as he came down the escalator and started talking about disbanding NATO and pulling out of NATO and all of that stuff, the alarm bells went off in my head right away. Wait a minute. This is crazy talk. Who would that benefit? Would that benefit America? Would it benefit the free world? who would it benefit? It would benefit the dictators, the Putin, and bringing Putin to the White House. That was another thing that made me say, wait a minute, get out of here. The guy was a pariah, however you say that word. Nobody wanted to invite him to a sacred place, like no country. But he immediately brought him in and gave him put him on the world stage again. And the little guy in North Korea, he was running around like a little mouse. Nobody cared about him. And all this next thing, he's brought to America. So anyway, these things just sort of alarmed me, because I saw from the very beginning that this guy is not working for America. Everything he seems to do would benefit our enemies. But I was smart enough to go back and look at his history. And any of you who do that, you will see his connection to Russia. A lot of times when he was bankrupt, Russian money helped to bring him out of it. And that trip that he took to and stayed over in Russia, the KGB was, of course, filming everything he did. So they probably, he was a young and party guy, and he probably did some things that with society might frown on. And they have pictures and film of everything he did, whether he went in the bathroom and masturbated. They got that on tape. Because that was what they did with foreign people who came, of any kind of power, and anyone in Russia who was running against Putin or something. They did the same thing to them, and if they wouldn't bend to their threats, then they did what Donald Trump has threatened to do to our people here. Just kill them, hang them, So anyway, let's make sure we all go to the No Kings protest, and I'm just going to stop here. It's really important. And remember, if you don't want a king, show it. And if you do want a king, then of course you're not going to come, and that's okay. If you want a king, that's your thing. Do your thing, okay? This is Alligator in Alignment. I'm out of here. I'll be back with more fun subject, I hope.